One of the problems with loving to wear black t-shirts, the color black, I love the color black, wearing black t-shirts and having a St. Bernard is that there is absolutely hair everywhere. Greetings, my fearless frontliners, my fellow guardians of the galleries. I'm William Young, correctional officer turned correctional apologist, and well, this is my channel. If you're new here, thank you for stopping by. Welcome. If you're a current, aspiring, retired, or retiring correctional officer and you're looking for content about the profession that is both entertaining and informative and engaging and motivating, then you're in the right place. But if you're here for gory war stories or for someone who wants to talk shit about the profession after quitting 2 weeks after they started their correctional career, well, then you are going to absolutely be disappointed. And if you're a returning viewer, if you're one of my longtime subscribers, then thank you for being here. I appreciate you taking your time to spend with me. Now let's set the stage for today's conversation. Oscar Wilde once wrote in a book, The Picture of Dorian Gray, that there is only one thing in the world that is worse than being talked about, and that is not being talked about. Now, I think I get what he was trying to say, what Oscar was trying to say, but honestly, I think it depends on who's doing the talking, because in corrections, right, words carry weight. This job is built on teamwork. It's built on trust and survival. Correctional officers are outnumbered, sometimes hundreds to one, and oftentimes, really more than often, right, we're dangerously understaffed. An officer's ability, our ability to make it home safely, doesn't just depend on our own skills. It depends on the team that we serve with. So from day one, we're taught this. We're told we're all we got. And sometimes it's presented to us as like an elite brotherhood. Sometimes it's framed as an us versus them. But the message is the same. Our survival absolutely depends on each other. And that's why I have a hard time with Wilde's idea that any publicity is good publicity, because in this line of work, people aren't forming opinions on you based on facts. They're forming them based on perception. And perception, more often than not, is shaped by rumors, by gossip, and a whole lot of assumption. In our facilities, gossip spreads fast. I don't know about yours, but sometimes in mine, rumors take hold and they stick. People judge each other based on surface level impressions, on secondhand stories, on frustrations that have nothing to do with the person that they're talking about. And before you know it, someone's reputation is built on that version that isn't even real. And this happens because of something that I learned about, something called negativity bias. Humans are wired. We're wired to focus more on the negative than the positive. Does that sound familiar? That's what we're trained to do in corrections, right? It's a survival mechanism that goes all the way back to our ancestors, right? It's staying alert to danger so we could stay alive. For correctional officers, this mindset is amplified. Our job forces us to constantly scan for threats, to stay on high alert, to assume the worst in people to protect ourselves. We're trained to anticipate danger, to look at and to read situations critically and to see what's wrong. And that habit doesn't just stay in the housing unit, it carries over to how we perceive each other. And in my book, In Trained to Change, I talk about this transformation in mindset, and it's what I call mental-morphosis, right? It's the process where officers over time develop a defensive, hypervigilant, cynical outlook as a survival mechanism. And while the shift is necessary to do the job effectively, it has long-term effects on our mental health, on our relationships, and how we interact with our peers. So what does this have to do with rumors? Well, everything, right? Because when you combine negativity bias with the natural stresses of the job, what you get is a workplace culture where gossip and cynicism thrive. And we end up seeing each other not as teammates, but maybe more so as adversaries. And before we dive any further into this, I want to take a quick minute just to let you know that I actually wrote an article on this topic. It's called Extinguishing Rumors, Breaking the Cycle of Negativity in Corrections, and I'll post a link in the show notes so you can read it, so you can check it out after the episode. And if this topic resonates with you, if you've ever felt the effects of working in a toxic correctional environment, or you've struggled with the way that this job has changed your mindset, then I encourage you to check out my book, Trained to Change, The Unfortunate and Unintentional Consequences of the Correctional Curriculum. And in it, I dive into the psychological shifts, right? This mental morphosis that happen to correctional staff, why they happen, and what we can do to counteract them. I want you to understand how this job rewires your thinking and how you can take back control. This book is for you. It was written from the inside for the inside, and I'll drop a link in the show notes so you can go ahead and grab a copy. All right, let's get back to it. So how do we stop this? How do we break out of this cycle of negativity? And it starts by asking yourself 3 important questions. Number 1, do I have the full story? And the answer is no. Okay, absolutely, you do not have the full story. Even if you got your information straight from the horse's mouth, which, by the way, is sort of a weird idiom, you still only have that person's version of the events. There are always 3 sides to every story, right? Your version, their version, and then the truth. So, for example, let's say a coworker gets arrested for a DUI on their way home from the annual employee appreciation picnic, right? So what's the story? They made a bad decision, that they're reckless, that they threw away their career for one night of drinking, and that's the version we hear, and that's the version that we repeat. But is that the story? I'm going to say probably not, right? What if the real story is that the officer or the staff member grew up in an abusive home, raised by alcoholic parents, and never learned a real healthy way to cope with the stress and the things that life has done to them? So what if they've been struggling with an undiagnosed mental illness? What if they're battling suicidal thoughts? What if that night of drinking wasn't just about having fun? What if it was about numbing the pain that they didn't know how to handle? See, the actual story is never as simple as we make it out to be. And yet we take a headline, a moment, a single mistake, a lapse in judgment, and we define that person. We reduce them to their worst decision, and we carry that narrative forward without ever stopping to ask, is there more to this? So number 2, am I focusing on the negative? Are you focusing on the negative because it's easier? And yes, it is easier, because this job, right? In this job, staying positive in a negative environment is like swimming upstream. It's exhausting, and it's easier to just flow, just go with the current. And I'm not here to shame anyone. Guys, I've done it too. I've sat in on those conversations. I've participated in those conversations. I've judged people without knowing their full story, and my excuses for doing so are pretty weak, right? I fall into the habit. We fall into the habit because it's what our culture supports. But just because something is common, just because it's the status quo, doesn't mean that it's right. And if we want to change the culture, we have to start with ourselves, which takes me to number 3. What are you doing? What am I doing to foster this team-centered, psychologically safe workplace? And this is tough because change isn't easy. We hate change. Resisting negativity is an uphill battle. But here's the thing: you don't have to fix the whole system, right? You just have to be one less person contributing to the problem. And that brings me to the next point here. How do we extinguish rumors in the correctional workspace? And I'm going to steal something. I'm going to steal something from my fire safety training. If you remember that, with the fire extinguisher, we're taught PASS, PASS, pull, aim, squeeze, sweep. So let's steal that. Let's reappropriate that. Let's apply that same concept to putting out this negativity in our workplace. So let's go to the P. Pull yourself out of the gossip cycle. The first step is recognizing, right, when negativity is spreading. So walk away, don't engage, don't add fuel to the fire, and then aim. Aim to understand before reacting. Instead of jumping to conclusions, ask yourself, do I know all the facts? Am I making assumptions, right? And then we'll squeeze in empathy, in support. The person being talked about, that could be you tomorrow, guys. Instead of joining in on the negativity, shift the conversation. Be the one who changes the tone, and then we're going to sweep away conceived notions. Let people prove who they are to you, not through the filter of gossip, but through their actual actions. And at the end of the day, remember that we're all in this together. We all work in an environment where trust is hard to come by. We don't need to make things worse by turning on each other. So instead of tearing each other down, let's build each other back up. Let's be kind, and let's be the kind of team that has each other's back, both on duty and off duty, because at the end of the day, we all want the same thing. We all want to get home safely. And we can only do that if we stand together. If you like this video, if you found value in this video, then straight punch that little like icon, comment, share this content with anyone and everyone that you think may be interested. And if you're looking for more premium correctional content, then check out this video right here, or this one that's going to pop up right over there. All right, guys, that's all I got. Until next time, be smart, stay safe, stay sane, and we'll talk soon.